Ronnie,
Like,
let's
I'm
wait
sorry?
just a little bit, okay? Hold on,
Okay.
and let's let some people get on here first.
Okay.
Sometimes it takes them a little while.
It lags just a little bit, so
Okay.
we'll let some people get on here. If you hop on, let us know where you're watching from.
Okay.
Say hi. We always like
Hi.
to know where everybody's watching from, so. Got a few people hopping on. Hi, Beth, Laura, Caitlin. Got Illinois, Rhode Island, and Arkansas. Hi, Donna. How have you been?
Donna's with us today.
Alrighty. All right. Hi, Kelly and Tammy. We were just waiting just a little bit while more people hopped on, so they didn't miss anything. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. We're happy you're here too, Donna. It's been a while. Okay, we have some special guests with us today. We have Ronnie Nettles and his wife, Gala, and she's back there somewhere. But they are going to talk about Nettles Stirrups.
Be sure if you have any questions at all for Ronnie, put those in the comments because he's here today to answer any questions that you might have about the Nettles Stirrup line. So with that, Ronnie, we will turn it over to you and you have the floor.
Well, my name's Ronnie Nettles. We've been in the stirrup manufacturing business about 35 years. Actually started by accident. We didn't plan it or anything. It just something kind of happened. Gala wanted me to build our grandson a rocking horse for Christmas, first birthday. So I built him a rocking horse. I couldn't find any stirrups to go on it. So I got the idea to laminate some wood together to make him a pair of stirrups. I made him a pair of little oxbow stirrups to go on that rocking horse. Well, I kind of liked the way they turned out, so I decided I'd build myself a pair. And I actually built the first two pair out of wheel bar handle. That's the only oak I had. So I built those and took them went to the stock show that year, and I took a pair of them to ladies and showed it to them, and they wanted me to build them some stirrups, and that's kind of where it started.
That's a really cool story. All right, well, to get us started, can you talk a little bit about how many different styles of stirrups that you offer?
Oh goodness, there's a lot of different styles and a lot of different, not just styles, but colors and finishes and gosh, I couldn't name them all off the top of my head, but there's so many of them. But we try to pretty much cover the market from end to end. We build stirrup for saddle makers to cover with leather or stainless or brass or whatever they want to cover them with. That's a 4-layer stirrup. Then we build a 5-layer stirrup that's ready to go on the saddle. And we ship a lot of those out to saddle makers. And then, of course, we have the premier stirrup, and that's the top of the line stirrup that is ready to go. A lot of them some of them are sold retail from here. Some are sold wholesale to saddle makers. And then we also have a product we put in that stirrup as an add-on called the leveler, and it's been very popular. And we build those here on the property also.
Laura had a question. She said, do you make the tilt stirrups?
Well, I do, but I've never been a real big fan of that stirrup. Although we built it, really didn't want to build that stirrup, but people kept wanting us to do it because the only ones they had were made out of aluminum. And we decided to try to build them, so we started building them. And I still wasn't satisfied with it. So I built what we call the leveler. And the difference is the crooked stirrup, it's a fixed product, and it's not going to change. It's going to be the way it is, from now on. And we'd have people that we'd have guys that would tell us they just love that crooked stirrup, and next guy say he hated it. Well, the problem with it was it's not going to change. We're all built different. We ride different. We ride different width horses. So every time you change width horses, you change the angles again. So the angles didn't work all the time. So we built the leveler, and what that does, it keeps that stirrup level all the time. It's a product that just softens that stirrup up. It's made out of stainless, and it just keeps that stirrup level all the time. It fits any kind of situation. We really didn't know that this had been a problem for so long. But when we did the patent on that stirrup, on that leveler, we found out that they've been trying to solve that problem since back the 1800s. And of course, when you twist the stirrup leather with a stirrup in, it kicks that stirrup up on the outside. And so the leveler, it keeps it level all the time, and it really performs well, and it really softens that stirrup up and makes it perform really nice.
Tammy had a question. She wants to know, what's your lightest weight stirrup?
Well, the lighter stirrup is going to be 5-layer, simply because it's got less wood in it.
Called the Duke.
And of course, then you get into tread width and those kind of things. It's going to change the weight of it too, simply because there's less wood. Of course, the 4-layer stirrup is probably the lightest, but the time they put leather and that kind of thing on it, it changes the weight of it anyway. So, as far as we're concerned, for what we produce, the 5-layer is going to be the lighter weight stirrup, ready to go on the saddle.
Jerry had a question for you. She says, I have a chip in one of my stirrups. Are they repairable?
She has a what?
She said she has a chip in one of her stirrups.
Is it our stirrup?
That's the question. Jerry, can you confirm that for us? We'll see if she gets back with us on that one. In the meantime, how do these compare to your average aluminum barrel racing stirrup weight-wise?
Well, stirrups are personal preference a lot, but and that's where the weight situation comes in and those kind of things. But a wood stirrup is really a better product for a stirrup. We actually rode steel stirrup for a long time, and I know from riding them, they're pretty brutal to ride. The wood stirrup gives you some density. You get a little better feel of your horse. It just has a tendency to perform better than a metal stirrup, in my opinion. Of course, I've ridden both, so I've had experiences with both. And a metal stirrup, a steel stirrup, just doesn't perform like a wood stirrup does.
Jerry did reply, and she said it is one of your stirrups. So,
well, it's about the only time we ever have a nick in a stirrup or a break is when a horse hangs a stirrup on something, maybe in a trailer, gets hung on something in a trailer or a fence or something like that. It can break a piece off. As far as having a chip in a stirrup, it would just it had to be a pretty good lick of some kind, because those stirrups are all hardwood. And they don't normally chip very easy at all. So it's, it would have to have a pretty good lick on it to make it chip.
Hannah asked, what are the best stirrups to relieve knee pain?
Well, of course, the flat bottom which is just a standard stirrup, and it goes in a lot of different performance situations. Reiners, ropers, cutters, everybody rides that stirrup. It's a good foundation stirrup. The leveler is probably going to do more towards helping your knees than anything else, because it's going to keep you level all the time.
Okay. Beth had asked, what is your most popular stirrup for trail riding?
Well, we actually make a stirrup called the Trailblazer, and it's an offset stirrup. And what that stirrup does, when you put your foot down in it, it rotates your heels down and sets you down on your horse a little better, stabilizes you better. And it's also got a high impact rubber tread in it that helps take that shock out of your knees and hips. And if you put the leveler on top of that, it's about as good as it's going to get.
Which one did you ask?
I asked about the can you talk a little bit about the different widths of your stirrups?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Can you talk about the different widths that you have available? Mm-hmm.
Just about every width you can imagine. A 1 inch, it goes all the way up to 6 inches in half-inch increments. So just about any width stirrup you want, we have it.
How would you go about choosing the right width of your stirrup? What kinds of questions would you ask?
Well, the first thing I'd want to know is what size boot a person wears, probably how tall they are. We build what we call the petite stirrup, which is normally for shorter people, a lot of times ladies, but basically shorter people. It's a shorter stirrup, it doesn't hit you as high up on the ankle. And stirrup's kind of like a pair of boots. You don't want a big old pair of boots flopping around on your foot, and that's kind of where a stirrup is. So we build just about every style that I can think of in a stirrup.
You know, I'd like to add something there. The petite does fit ladies most often, but we have had a world champion cutter. Yeah, he was a cutter, world champion cutter that used the petite stirrup. He's just more jockey size guy. And so the regular size stirrup came up further on his shin and rubbed his shin. And therefore he tried the petite. It worked perfectly. It went in closer to the ankle, and we're very proud he was world champion.
Is there any kind of maintenance required to keep the wood of the stirrup in good condition?
Well, you can do some things to keep it looking nicer. You can use just really like a furniture polish or cleaner on it will help to keep it clean and everything. It's wood, so you can handle it just like any wood, where it be furniture or whatever. But I will say that stirrup is the glue that we use to put that stirrup together is very good glue. In fact, we tested that glue when we first started using it. I took a raw stirrup before it ever had any kind of finish on it and put it in a bucket of water, and I forgot about it. I actually left it in there about a week. Took it out of there, and it was just as strong as it was when I put it in there. So weather's not going to affect it, and but as far as keeping them clean and nice, you can just use a furniture polish or anything like that to keep them a little cleaner and nicer. And also we do refurbish stirrups, and we can take a stirrup that's fairly beat up, and people send them in, and we recondition them, put new treads, new pins, everything in them, and they're almost like a new stirrup when you get it back. In fact, some people have always sent them a new stirrup.
Okay. We've had a couple of questions come in about the leveler. Is the leveler something that you can add to any stirrup?
Yes, it will go on any of our stirrups.
Nettles Stirrups.
We only sell it, put it on Nettles Stirrups, of course, but and we do that in-house. We don't ship them out to be put in a stirrup.
All right, and then Kelly and Diane asked, which style do you recommend for barrel racing?
Which style? Well, we have the what we call the barrel racer, and it's a cutaway stirrup, and it performed really well. Cutaway on both sides, so you only feel the bottom of that stirrup when you put your foot in it, and it has a rubber tread in it that helps them to hold it better. And then you can get that stirrup in just about any color. We do a lot of different colors and everything in that stirrup also. It's been very, very popular.
Well,
As far as the width is concerned, most everybody rides a 2-inch. So we have 3-inch and very seldom an 1.5 inch. It has happened.
Somebody was wanting to see the leveler, so that, whoops.
Right. Yeah, that's it. And it lets that stirrup just float in any direction. It really softens that stirrup up, so it makes your ride just a softer kind of a feel than just a standard stirrup. It does have a lot of movement in it. I've had people ask me, well, if I use the leveler, is my foot going to flop around or something like that? But that's not the case, because the stirrup is going to only do what you asked it to do, and it's going to only fit you according to the way you ride. There again, can change your angles by with horses you ride and a lot of things. So it just fits any situation you put it in, and that's a really good aspect of that product. And they've been they've held up really, really well. We've had very few that ever had any problem with, and most of those were ones when we first started building stirrups, and I don't guess we've had more than half a dozen of them come back over the years.
And then this is the barrel racer stirrup with the leveler on.
That's right. Yes.
This is the one.
And then this one is the Duke, and we have that one pulled too, so we could show that one.
But that's the Duke. And of course we can put a leveler in that, or if they want that extra added to it. That's the 5-layer stirrup that you're looking at.
One of the reasons the Duke is more economical is because it is always the same finish. There's not the opportunities to use all the different colors or different kinds of woods, etc., is really reserved for the Premier line. Therefore, that makes it easier to give a more economical stirrup when you're doing the same thing over and over and over. In other words, those guys are making that same product continually. They're not having to change their machines and their jigs, and they're staining them the same color. There's never a different color, which makes it easier, makes it more economical to make the Duke. That, and besides, it does have 5 layers, and it has the same leather that every other stirrup out there has, whereas the Premier stirrup has top of the line leather.
Well, we use all Herman oak backs for treads in our stirrups, and it's real high quality leather. We've had some of those stirrups come back in to be reconditioned. It's very old. You can tell they've been ridden a lot, still had the original tread in them. So that it's not how thick the leather is, it's the quality of the leather that makes them last well. And we use 8-ounce leather, 8 to 10 ounce leather for treads. And that's worked real well for us. The difference, one of the big differences between the 5-layer, the Duke, and the Premier stirrup is just, all it is just manufacturing, less manufacturing goes into it, less labor and those kind of things. The reason we can sell that stirrup cheaper. The 5-layer stirrup, Duke.
Donna asked, so would you recommend the leveler and the trailblazer for beginners?
Yes, it would be that would be a very good choice, because like I say, that trailblazer, it does set your heels down and set you down on that horse a little more stable. And, you know, people naturally want to ride with their heels down, because if you ride with your toes down, it throws you off balance on that horse. So that stirrup performed really well for that. And it's, and of course, the Trailblazer, just a wonderful stirrup. For somebody that's just sitting on a horse for long hours, it really does help to take that shock out of your knees and hips and ankles. So the Trailblazer is a very nice stirrup and very comfortable.
Kathleen had said, do you ever make stirrups with gripping and so your boot won't slide in them? And I think like this has.
That's right. That's the rubber tread that we put in the barrel racer. Now the tread we put in the Trailblazer is different from the one in the barrel stirrup, because the one in the Trailblazer is about a 1/2 inch high impact rubber tread that's got some cushion in it. The stirrup you just showed me was just a barrel racer, and it's just more to help you hold the stirrup. So there's quite a bit of difference in the two rubber treads that we put in stirrups.
Can you add the leveler option after you already order? Hannah had a question. Can you add the leveler option after you already order and use the stirrups?
Yeah, so we have a lot of people send their stirrups back in, and we'll put the leveler in it. We have quite a few of those come in pretty regular.
Does it fit? Did you already answer that?
Yeah.
We also turn those stirrups around. The guys are really good about turning those stirrups around real quickly. So you're not without your stirrup very long at all when you send it in to have the leveler or the refurbishing done.
A lot of times people have their stirrup refurbished along with having the leveler put in, especially if they've ridden it for very long. So when they get it back, they've got practically a new stirrup and with the leveler in it.
Kelly was curious how much time goes into making a Nettles stirrup.
Oh, wow.
That is quick.
You know, many years ago on the premier line, I walked through the whole process with the guys, and there was over 100 steps to build the premier stirrup.
You know,
Unbelievable.
we actually start out with a log, and we cut all our own wood. We actually resaw our wood and cut the laminates and everything. So we do the whole job from start to finish. So it's quite a long process. We move a lot of stirrup through the business, but it'd be hard to say exactly how long it takes to build one stirrup. And we've got a pretty good sized crew working to turn out the number of stirrups we turn out every month.
And you have to remember, they're a handmade stirrup. These guys literally have them in their hands, and they're literally sanding them one by one.
Is there a left and right or a front and back to these stirrups at all?
No.
Okay.
The only reason you change that would if it had an initial on it or a brand or something like that. Of course, you want that on the outside, but that would be the only reason you turn it a certain way.
The Trailblazer in the 75.
Well, now that is right. The Trailblazer in the 75. You want to be sure that cutaway goes towards the back. In other words, the longest side of the stirrup would be towards the back of the horse.
But that's the only style that has the front and back.
Okay.
That's about it for questions. All right, did you guys have anything else to add before we draw a winner today?
Well, I can't think of anything right off. I don't know, Gala, you have anything?
You know, I have to say that these are the original laminated stirrups, and of course they've been successful in spite of us, not because of us, because we weren't smart enough to start this business. We were just young and starving and trying to make a better product for Ronnie himself. Literally, y'all, there was a time when we wrapped his legs in vet wrap because he rode so many horses, and those steel oxbows that he rode back then would just have his legs just raw. And that's why we really started looking for a better product. And that's how he found it when he was making that rocking horse. Ronnie's release has always been woodworking. His father was in woodworking. My dad owned a lumber company, so he's kind of been immersed in that. And it's been a love. We're so proud that we've been blessed with it. We thank the Lord for that. And all of these wonderful customers that you have listening, they're great.
You have a lot of here today.
We were pretty fortunate in that we actually started in the cutting horse business because that's what I did, train cutting horses. And we actually sold the first pair of stirrups to Buster Welch. And then our next retail customer, wholesale customer, was Letty's. They were our first actual wholesale customer. So we kind of started with the cream of the crop. And it just basically the stirrups sell themselves. We've sold more stirrups through word of mouth than any other way. And you know, somebody getting on another person's saddle had our stirrups on, and trainers would buy a pair of stirrups and they'd take it home. Of course, they might have 15, 20 saddles or more. And when they'd ride that saddle, they'd realize there was a lot of difference in the way that stirrup performed. And so they'd go buy another pair and another pair and another pair till they had them all on all their saddles. So really, that's kind of how it evolved into where it's at today. We're not the greatest promoters in the world, but it just kind of promoted itself.
Donna asked, so can you clarify, can we add the leveler to our own stirrups? Which I think you talked about this a little bit, but I'll let you answer it again.
No, you have to send them back in, and we'll put the lever in. We don't send the levers out to be put in.
Nettles.
It has to be a Nettles stirrup, right?
Yeah, it has to be a Nettles stirrup, yes.
Yep. Okay.
And we put it in with a special tool here, so they have to ship the stirrups in, and we change out the bolting in the throat and put the lever in.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that we're ready to draw a winner.
All right. So our winner today is going to win. We'll show you what you're going to win.
A pair of the Duke stirrups.
I think there's a couple different sizes.
Widths, yeah.
Different widths. Yep.
To choose from.
So the winner today is going to be Hannah Green.
Congratulations, Hannah.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
We want to thank you, Ronnie and Gala, so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you coming on here and answering all the questions, and we really loved hearing your story.
Well, thank you very much for having us. We appreciate it.
You girls are wonderful.
Thank you guys very much. We will see you later and have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you.